Hello and welcome to the third episode of the 10th series of the Temples of the podcast. Today with us is the legendary Herbie Fletcher. We discussed with him about his amazing stories, surfboard surfers, and much more. Hello, Mr. Fletcher. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
Hi, I'm Herbie Fletcher. I'm here in California. I just got out of the water to tell you the thrill is back.
Nice. We like that. It's a good day to surf out there. How is it going so far? Is good or?
No, it's not very good.
Oh, okay. Okay. But anyway, every session is a good session, right?
Yeah. Every session's a good session. Clears your head.
Exactly. Connects us with something much more important, right? Than all the things that we have to do and hear during the day. So
yeah, it's when you forget everything and let everything go when you're out in the water.
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Today we're gonna talk about many things. Of course, I am very excited of this interview. In effect, when you said okay, I was like, yeah, that's good. Is a good day for me. You made my day.
Nice. Thank you.
We're gonna talk about, you're welcome, many things. But the first question I ask everyone on the show: in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
Style. And feeling good.
I like this answer. It's the same answer Rob Machado one day gave me. Is like style is essential, isn't it?
It's very essential. And, everybody has different styles, but, it depends on how aggressive or what generation you came from. And in my generation, it was early, like late 50s and then early 60s. And then style became a big deal in the 60s.
Yeah.
Earlier than that, it was just mainly getting out in the water, and having a good time and enjoying yourself, playing with your friends.
Yeah, exactly. I remember, like when I spoke with Greg Knoll one day, he told me, Alessandro, we were just a bunch of friends looking only to have fun, right? And not more than that. So it's, I see what you mean. And of course, okay, but I have just the first question that came to me when you said style is like today when surfers are judged, maybe on the longboard is different in certain contests. Style is not that important, isn't it?
Not anymore.
It's sad.
Not anymore. It's mainly tricks and survival. And I wasn't a big contest guy. I was more into surfing and staying at Pipeline and hanging out in Hawaii. And then I had kids and I made surfboards. And, really I was into the design of surfboards. Like I worked with Brewer and Hinson and a lot of different people. But there was like a new generation coming and working with these guys. We're designing like the minigun to fit in backdoor. I discovered backdoor with Gary Chapman, and then Brewer was there. We're pushing the minigun, and they were pushing it hard, but it was a group. It was a movement. And at that time, just before that, I lived with Greg McGilvery, and we made a movie called Free and Easy, and that was about style and being free and easy. And but I learned a lot from those guys, And when I was making surfboards, I moved back to California because I had kids and I needed to put them in school and work more. And, going back and forth to Hawaii. And so I started making movies to advertise the Astro Deck, the tail patch. I created the tail patch and I thought it was very important. And all the surfers, the best surfers in the world, loved it.
Yeah.
They knew it was, but teaching everybody. So I started making films to show the best surfers surfing on Astro Deck, but also to show them the maneuvers and up-to-date stuff because I'm a surfer. I'm not, I wasn't just a filmmaker. I was a a real surfer, a designer and shaper, and and I'm still doing all that stuff, and I love it. And I've moved on to doing more art, but doing surfboard ads, that's an art. Shaping surfboards is an art. It's sculpting, and so you're really looking at it as surfing as a performance art, So I've really been into the arts, but I've been painting and sculpting for the last close to 30 years now.
Yes, in fact, there are a lot of things that are legendary in your career. If you can, I mean, it's your life, in your life, right? And you said many of them. In effect, going back to the style, is so important that to reintroduce that in today's way of appreciating surfing, because what the media is showing us with the WSL, for instance, or the Olympic Games, is to have like performance, like aerial or tricks, and everything is evaluated on that in that sense, but style that is so gracious, like of course in snowboarding, for instance, but not only, it's a little bit forgotten, while in reality, in my opinion, at least, I'm nobody, but in my opinion, at least, it should be one of the key essential way of evaluating the performance on a surfboard.
Well, when I was younger, the boards were, like I was small compared to the other guys. So my board was 9'6", 9'8", but it weighed 32 pounds. It was heavy. And to maneuver it, it took different, transfer of weight, the rails and all that. So there was a lot doing with the rails and standing in the tube. And then, so when the shortboard came along, it was more aggressive and snappier and faster and quicker. And that was a time in the late 60s, early 70s, right? And then it became the 80s, and that's when I started making movies. But also with that, my son Christian, he was very inventive and wanted to do aerials because he was a skateboarder, as I was a skateboarder, and I was one of the first pool riders ever in like the early 60s. And there's photos to show that, to prove the point, from 1963 or 4, right around there, a Ron Stoner photo. We went to a pool. Anyway, the aerial surfing, I made movies about it to try to get it going, but you had to have style to go along with it, or it was just a trick. And so you have to carve and ride the tube and fly over the lip and do it all, with style, is what I believe. And the films, you can see that. Just with a photograph, you can't see it, but with the film, you really get to see you can't cheat, right?
Yes. Well,
you see the beginning to the end.
yeah. I mean, those, if we're talking about like a 70s, 80s movie, the 90s movie, you cannot really cheat. Today, things can change, the technology can really like make things a little and look a little bit different from pictures to movie, right? So it's kind of, we need to watch out. No, not all the time we have to believe on what we see, isn't it?
Well, the still photos, they're like, they're great. I love to look at still photos, but you can cheat on those. But in a movie, a moving film, there's no cheating, and you can see it, the whole thing from beginning to end, which, tells the story.
Yeah, of course.
I love making films. I'm still doing films and traveling, and I did the waves where shortboarding. I did Wave Warrior series, and I did Adrenaline Surf series, and a whole bunch of different films. But I also made a lot of longboarding films.
Yeah.
Which is still going, and you'll be able to see them online here pretty soon. I'm remastering all of them to get them out there online.
Ah, okay. So that's such a great news. So we'll stay tuned until the day of release. When do you think those will be released?
It's the 26th. I've been informed that it's April 26th at La Paloma here in Encinitas. That was my wife. She's good. She handles it all. She keeps me in check.
Yeah,
It's the best.
I see.
And she comes from a very heavy surf family. Her dad was Walter Hoffman, who really got people out to Macau surfing the big waves back in 1950. This was 5 years before Greg Knoll or any of those guys made it there.
Yeah, that means
And her sister was a 4-year world champion from 1964 to 1968, Joyce Hoffman. You've heard of Joyce Hoffman, right?
of course, fantastic.
Yeah, she had the style for a woman. She was great. She was the first woman to ride pipeline,
Wow.
and she's still out there surfing. And I met Debbie at Makaha Beach back in 1965.
Okay. I was away at that time, like of course like less people. Yeah.
It was the country. I lived on the North Shore. It was country, and there weren't very many surfers, very few surfers. And, I lived on the beach or in vacant houses if I could find one. But bought Dewey Weber's Cadillac with a couple other people and lived in his Cadillac for a while.
Not a bad place. I mean, comfortable or no. I remember those old cars, they had like a very nice seat, very comfy, not like today.
Yeah, the back seat was the best, so we trade off.
Ah, okay, okay. Yes.
Yeah, but that was the only way you could live there, and I didn't have any money. I was 16.
Oh, wow.
A young kid, but I wanted to surf and hang out with the best surfers.
That was the place to
So
be.
those days, you can make it. It would take a long time to get from Honolulu, about 2 to 2.5 hours to the North Shore. So you'd only see surfers on the weekends.
Wow. Ah, okay. Because like
And all those guys work. They're all older.
yeah, because at that time surfer was not like it was something that you were doing for fun. There was no like today the surf industry and you see surfer basically every day. Really, people had to work and then go to surf, right? Unless
Yeah, yeah. I'd walk down the pipeline and there wouldn't be anybody out, or maybe a couple body surfers.
wow, looking at it today, oh my God,
It's crazy. My son Nathan Fletcher, he lives in Hawaii, surfs, the pipeline. He just got the wave of the day a few days ago. It was just everybody left town, so you know, he got a great wave. It was a great west swell, and pretty nice.
makes you proud as a father, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. And then my grandson Grayson he's a skateboarder and a surfer and snowboarder. We all are.
Yeah, I spoke
But
to.
he's mainly a really great skateboarder, and he's just on his way to Tampa right now for a skate contest, but mostly to film. He likes to film and have fun more than a competitor.
Yeah, I spoke with him, Grayson. I spoke with him last summer because they were advertising a new movie, surf film. Sorry, I don't remember the name, but he had injured his shoulder or something at that time.
Yeah, his collarbone was all broken
Yeah.
many places, so he's got a lot of metal in it now.
Oh my God! And he told me like Alessandro, it's not good because I got injured, but it's good because now I have the time to talk with you. Otherwise, I would not have the time.
He's a busy guy.
Of course, it's normal to be busy. Yes, and busy good. So when you were talking before about innovation, you were talking about, of course, the astrodeck or the rails. Today, can you still see innovation in the surfboard industry?
Well, the first person to put rails on was Phil Edwards.
Yes.
And he invented the whip turn, and Christian Fletcher took it into the air. So there was like two different, things. But Phil did the rails. and he worked with Mike Hinson a lot. So Mike, and it came from Hawaii. Mike put rails on boards, and Brewer was, innovating things and along with the style. And then the shortboard came in. The minigun, especially at backdoor and off the wall, was a big deal. But then we started putting down rails on boards, and I worked a lot with Mike Hintz on that, mainly at Malaya, the fastest wave in the world. It's makeable. You've heard of Malaya on Maui?
No, actually, but fastest wave in the world, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's makeable. Anyway, it's a beautiful wave. And so we put down rails on boards in. And so boards started going faster and faster. And there's been innovations, with the thrusters and the twin fins and, the fin setup. And then, I've seen it all go on. And so I might go back and forth here a little bit, like I always do.
Okay.
But tube riding really came in the 70s. A lot of tube riding, the boards got smaller, they got thinner, and, kids were going faster and they were on the single fin. And then the thruster came in and it did a lot for, surfing. But right around the same time, I started doing Astrodeck in 76, but it didn't really get going until like 80, 81, until I made little squares, black and white. It was more punk, and so kids could decorate their board. But the real surfers, like Jerry Lopez and Sean Thompson and, Mark Richards and Rabbit and all those guys from the early 70s, they loved it. Terry Fitzgerald, they all used it. They knew it was good. And so I knew it was good because I'm a surfer, but I had to see everybody else really do it. So I stuck with it. And I think it really improved the performance with more radical maneuvers, and you could stick to your board and have something like a kicktail, like a skateboarder. Skateboarding had a big influence. And then the aerials got involved. Potter and my son Christian, and then a few other guys. Archie was into it, but Christian really took it to a new spot with all his skateboard maneuvers, which the surfers didn't know, like stale fishes and lean airs and slobs and all kinds of different maneuvers that he did on a skateboard, he did on a surfboard. And now they're really into doing all those maneuvers and catching up, but it took them from like the 80s all the way until 2010 or something. From the late 80s, it took them 20 years, over 20 years to really catch on. They said it wasn't surfing.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, so big time.
I mean, a lot, some people were into it, but most people weren't into it because it was changing things, and it turned a lot of guys, into dinosaurs because they couldn't do the aerials.
Okay.
Now look at it. It's just, and the boards are smaller. They're doing more things. It's incredible what they're doing now.
No, definitely.
I really love to see the progression of surfing and just keep it going.
But today, innovation is still feasible. It's still possible, not on the way we surf, because obviously we see it also in big waves like in Nazaré. There is always like a way to innovate. Do you see still possibility of?
Yeah, my son Nathan was chasing the big wave, all around the world, and he loved big waves. And he put on 4 fins so he could go faster on one rail, and just keep the edge in there. And he did that for a long time and turned on a lot of different people to it. Now most of the people ride a 4 fin, and big waves. And the tow in, I started back in, I started towing Christian. It's about 76, but just in small waves. But in Hawaii, I owned a house with Jerry Lopez, and all the surfers would come over there. And I had a jet ski, and I tried to tow them all in. And finally, Potts, Kong, and Carol, jumped on a big day when it was hard to get around at Pipeline. It was capping on the 3rd reef and breaking on the 2nd reef. And, That was 1985 and really got into it.
Wow.
But then nobody got involved until Laird, I think in the late 90s,
Yeah.
97 or something. And, they just kept, they took it to a new spot. But I got involved with a lot of sailboarders, and they were riding big waves, but they had the power with their sail. And so I'd do water patrol on those guys.
Wow.
But they're really innovative also. And they were the only guys really riding big waves back in like 80. Sort of a Bradshaw and a few guys, they rode them, but it was more hot dogging and tube riding.
I was living with Jerry in the same house with Jerry Lopez.
Well, Jerry and I grew up together, and we're good friends and knew everybody, and we'd surf all the time, but I moved back to California. This was in the 60s. And I moved back to California. I had a really bad automobile accident where it crushed my leg. Anyway, I got over that. And so Jerry was building the house at Pipeline with Fat Paul, and then I got involved, and it was fantastic because to go there, it was right at Pipeline, which I always lived there in the 60s, right there. And so the house was right in front of Pipeline. It was the clubhouse.
Is they call today the Volcom House? Is that one?
Yeah, they call it Volcom House now.
Wow. Okay. I see that.
It was a fantastic time, but things change, and made a lot of Wave Warriors movies there, and it was really great. Because everybody would congregate right there.
Yeah, exactly. I guess your point. It's like everyone that wanted like to surf with the creme de la creme, the top guys had to go there. There was no.
Yeah, so they'd come over, and so every swell, like there'd be a 2 or 3 day swell. People would come over and they'd break their surfboards and then leave it in the yard. And I'd be off of the third story looking down, and I'd see all these broken boards. And so I started putting them together, and I call it a rectangle. I don't know if you've seen the rectangles.
I've seen your amazing art piece that with all the surfboards. And now I get why I connect the dots. Right? It comes from that time.
All the best surfers in the world would leave their broken surfboards there. So I started putting them together, and it's really fantastic because you get to see all the logos that they put on, and then the art that they did on them, and the different shapes, and some even I leave the wax on it just because it's it's fantastic looking.
Of course, it looks, and I think like a few years ago it has been sold for like a fantastic record price, right? So it was.
Oh yeah, but it's art, it's
art. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so I have so many questions in my mind, but back into the art. So you are using a lot of materials. What is the hardest material for you to work on or to work with?
I don't know. I enjoy it.
You enjoy it?
So I've done these paintings where when I was a kid, the white part of our trunks, living on the North Shore, the rivers bust out, and then red water comes out, and so the white part of the trunks would soak up the red iron oxide stained mud. It would stain the trunks, and so I'm looking at these things. So then I'm at Waimea, right? I put some canvases on the nose of my surfboard and paddled up the river and soaked them in the iron oxide mud, and brought them back to the beach and laid them out on the coral sand to let them dry, and then washed off the mud, and it left this nice, beautiful iron oxide stain. And then I painted a big wave on it, which I thought was, Waimea means red water.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I call the paintings blood water.
Blood water. Okay.
Yeah, the blood water paintings.
Fantastic.
And
And
you can see those on my website,
yeah,
HerbieFletcher.com. Pull up all that stuff.
I was looking at it like it's overwhelming by the amount of things that are in the website, from sculpture, paintings, art, no one not surf. I don't know. It's really like yeah, I somebody really needs to take the time and go one by one to understand you as an artist, but as a person as well. So it is I found it fascinating and to look at it. And
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. I say because
Well, when I moved back here to California, I'd always travel to the North Shore in the winter. But when I came back to California, I'm going, well, there wasn't a whole lot of surf. And as a kid, I grew up here riding a longboard. So I started making longboards again in 74 and 75. And they didn't even really make blanks for them. But we got into it. I made some plugs for Gordon Clark and started making longboards and called it The Thrill Is Back. And so I brought back longboarding again.
yeah,
Because people went away to college, they came back, and all it was shortboards, or they got married, had families, and they couldn't surf with their friend or with their kids, rather, because the boards were so short.
yeah.
So longboard got more people back in the water, and it's
So a lot of people in the industry, they should thank you because like you made the longboard cool again, and then also a lot of shapers they started to sell back the surfboards like longboard.
well, they had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's why I call it The Thrill Is Back. They had a lot of fun with their family, and it was great.
I remember this period because being Copeland was telling me about this story about when the suddenly longboards like they were kind of not cool anymore, and then after a period longboards came back, and then
Yeah.
progression. But in the meantime, quite a lot of shapers went out of business, right? Because they couldn't do the transition, isn't it?
It was hard. They got older. They were just board builders. They weren't surfers.
Yeah. Okay. This is the main difference, right? To be a surfer, yeah,
Being a board builder is one thing, but being a surfer and a shaper is something else.
yeah, totally agree with you. Going back to waves, we talk about so many ways, so many fantastic ones. But what was the best wave of your life, or the most
Oh, it had to be Pipeline.
five?
I've had a lot of great waves at Desert Point, and like I said, Malaya and lots in Hawaii, but Pipeline was my favorite. It was getting close to sunset, and it was capping on the third reef, and I paddle out. There was nobody around. I think it was like 69, 68, 69, right around then. And I had a 711 gun. It was only 16 inches wide with an 8-inch tail, 11-inch nose, and it was fast. But I dropped in a giant wave and got tubed, came out. I got blown out actually, and I was sitting on my ass, and I stood up, and this went in a big hole. Man, it turned black, and it was. I'll never forget that wave. It was big. I made it. I made it to the beach.
Yes, definitely. And now you are with us talking about it. But like I guess every great wave has a kind of life and death experience somehow connected to it, right? It's like if you're
Well, that's what when I was out there riding giant waves and nobody was around on my jet ski, the stand-up jet ski. There was, I started wearing a life vest, and so I'd come up. But nobody else was out there, and there are giant waves out at log cabins and, different places. But I had the power.
yeah.
I had the power.
My God, it's important. It's essential.
Yeah. People would sit on the beach and, like under the tree at Waimea and watch me. Nobody'd be out at closed out Waimea. And so I'd get out there and play around. But again, I had the power to rip it.
Yeah, but it's good sometimes to have a buddy with you, for safety reason, or at least to confirm the stories and say like, yes, it was real. I saw it.
Oh yeah. Well, there was photos taken of it
Ah, okay, okay.
and movies also, movies.
Okay, so you have the full documentation, right? That happened, It's like sometimes, it happened like we all go like to our I don't know, club or bar or whatnot, and we tell, I took great wave today, but there is no proof. So maybe, and nobody saw it. Now today there are like a lot of people, so maybe somebody would see it. But those early days, there was not so many people in the water, isn't it? So
Yeah, not so many cameras or anything. Now there's a camera everywhere.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And switching from waves to surfers, actually, there is a question that I always ask in the show: is that in your life you met a lot of amazing surfers. Some of them were famous, some of them were not. Was there a meeting with one of them that was particularly memorable, important for you?
Oh boy. Oh.
Not to make it too philosophical today, but
Oh no, I grew up with so many surfers. You know, David Nueva was a very famous surfer, and we grew up together in Huntington Beach back in the early '60s. But you know, like I just wanted to meet the guys that ride big waves when I was a kid. You know, I was 12 years old, just wanting to meet them, and they'd all come to Huntington Beach. Alima Kalama, Dave Kalama's dad. You know, I think he won the Huntington contest, and it was the Coke contest in '63. But you know, meeting all these surfers, it was a brotherhood, and it was just you know, it was a natural type deal. I don't know, it's just they were just all around, and I was the youngest one, the kid, you know, and but then when I did Astrodeck, I had the largest surf team ever in the history of surfing for like 30 years.
they were all
You
there.
know,
They were all there.
and we do it. You know, we still do photo shoots in Hawaii under Wave Warriors. You know, I ask everybody to come because they could be under the same umbrella because they're not writing for like different companies, you know, from Billabong to Quicksilver. You know, these are the older companies, you know,
Mm,
uh, and they couldn't be under the same umbrella, but under Astrodeck, they could all be there with their surfboard.
exactly.
And the Wave Warriors was a movie, so they could all be there.
So
And it's fantastic. You know, I just love it.
in a way, you were an aggregator of different cultures, surfers, I don't know, origins, like,
Older and younger,
oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, fantastic.
all types of, you know, different surfers. And it's great to communicate and see where they're coming from.
I hope it's not a philosophical question like the one before, at least. But I know maybe you can give me a good answer on this question. When for instance, let's talk about my experience. When I first contacted you and you said yes, I was like, oh my God, Herbie Fletcher is such a legend, and of course we read about you all over like internet, magazine, Surface Journal, and everybody refers to you as a legend. You consider yourself one?
Yeah,
Yay!
I've done a lot and I'm still doing it, you know, and I love it. You know, that's what, you know, I'm 75 now and still surfing.
Wow.
And I surf with all the young kids and the old guys and, you know, really enjoy it. But yeah, I've done a lot. And, you know, when you start getting up there, you know, there's a lot of legends, know?
Obviously there are, but you are like in the surf culture. I don't know, like,
I'm one of the elders.
yes, not the elders only. Like the most important influential person
And like the kids always want me to talk story with them, like in Hawaii. They want to know about their roots, you know, because a lot of the guys quit surfing and they go to work and do other things.
Mm.
And they want to know about different surfers that they never knew about, you know, that surfed, you know, the big waves and, you know, that were involved. And there's a lot of young kids. And like I'm over 50 years older than them.
Yes, but I think, like, actually that's the reason why I do this podcast, is to go back. Of course, I'm not Matt Warshaw of the Encyclopedia of Surfing. I'm just an Italian guy. But what I like, is to go back and discover the origins, the surf culture with through the surf heritage, that is so big, so many different.
That's why I'm talking to you.
Thank you. I like.
Because you're interested and you want to do good and learn the history and get it out there so people can you know see the history, that how it all happened
Yes,
and
because
how it's going.
to go forward, we need to look back, right? There is no other choice. We need to learn from what happened before us and to bring it forward to even improve, right?
Oh yeah, when I was growing up, I used to like to talk to the elders, and have them tell me stories, and now most of them are dead.
It's part of life. Unfortunately, we cannot press the pause button, but
Yeah. No, it was great because my father-in-law, he's like 92 now, but he surfed Malibu with no one out,
wow,
and Makaha and all these great surf spots,
yeah, incredible.
and made surfboards. And he would work with Matt Kevlin. Matt Kevlin would, they started foam, making foam boards. Before that, it was all wood, but then they put thin veneer on top of it. But, Bob Simmons, you
Okay,
heard of Simmons, right?
oh,
And Joe Quigg, they would collaborate on surfboards together, but Matt Kevlin would make the blanks for him.
okay, okay.
And so they'd collaborate on surfboards together. This is back in the early 50s, maybe even before.
Wow, it was the beginning of everything. I mean,
Yeah,
and
because I got a photo of my father-in-law. I think he's like 1948 with a Malibu board.
wow, wow,
Yeah.
fantastic. And that if we could press pause to one of the decades of your story, which one would you pick?
Probably pick 1966.
You were in Hawaii, right? Pipeline.
Yes.
Yeah.
17.
17.
Yeah.
Why you choose that particularly?
Well, we made the movie Free and Easy, and it was free and easy. I mean, there weren't many surfers, and it was just a really good time. And the surfboards were just coming on. I was learning a lot about them, but Phil Edwards made my surfboards at that time, and it was he was the best surfer, and he made the best surfboards at that time,
But
especially in the early 60s.
definitely,
And Hobie hired him to he had the first model, the Phil Edwards model by
yes,
Hobie.
yes, fantastic model. In all today is worth quite a while. All right, was a good investment to keep those boards.
Yeah, I have one.
Good. Fantastic. Yes.
Yeah.
And
I have a great collection of old surfboards, and right up to present day. It tells the story.
and
There's over 100 boards. Yeah, but they're all important. They're made by special people and ridden by special people. Lance Carson at Malibu, and different people like that. Great surfers that made surfboards.
I guess for a normal surfboard collector, we can have like maybe let's say hundreds of surfboards, but for you have hundreds of surfboards, but most of them are from your friends or people that you met. Okay.
Right.
It's even more special.
That I worked with or surfed with, and they were great surfers, and great board builders. Dick Brewer, Mike Doyle, Mike Henson, lots of Mike Hensons, and Donald Takayama with David Nuiba, and
Fun.
the 60s type deal. and then moving on with Lopez and those great surfers, and
Wow.
on to today.
It's kind of, I am speechless, because when you say those names with such in a natural way, while for they are huge names that made the history of surf, not only on surfboard shaping but also on surfboard riding, which is what we were saying before. You need to be a surfer and and you can be a shaper, but you cannot be just a board builder, isn't it?
Well, a board builder, there's lots of people that make surfboards, but they can't surf. Like, they're not changing the world of surfing.
Definitely. And so if we look at your art, your surf, let's say technology inventions or surfboard shaping, if we look at all these, what you consider your biggest achievement? If you could choose one, and maybe all important.
Probably Astro Deck.
Okay. Well, but that was secondary, right?
Because everybody in the world uses some form of traction on their tail.
Yeah.
And that was hard to do because most surfers are real conservative and they don't want to change. They like their wax or whatever. But now all the best surfers in the world, have a tail patch on their surfboard. Look at the WSL. They all have different. Pretty soon they'll all have it on the front foot. They used to use it, and then it went away because the judges didn't like it.
True.
But you want traction so you can do more maneuvers, more radical and heavier situations. You want the lip to be able to hit your foot and stick. Your foot sticks. It doesn't get knocked off.
Yeah.
You don't get slipped off.
It's true. In fact, going back, there are like a lot of old surfboards that they still have like double pad, one on the back and one on the front, and it's interesting, he's going to be back for sure.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's there, but it isn't there. And you take a look at Michael and Derek Ho. Michael was a big influence as well. He was really positive. And in the kicktails, and we worked a lot together. But it's been really fantastic because I got to work with all the best surfers in the world with their feet and their surfing.
Yeah.
Not many people get to do that. Like I said, I had the largest, best surf team ever in the history of surfing, and I got to work with all of them.
Yeah. Wow.
Fantastic. And become friends, and then go to the beach and film them. And hang out and paddle out. And I'd paddle out with my camera and take movies. This was with a big camera, not the little GoPros that you see.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Such a unique, it will never happen again, this kind of thing, I think, in surfing. It's something like was right thing at the right time, right place, right person. So
you have to have the imagination.
Yeah, definitely.
You look at things before what happened before, and you can use your imagination and do things different and better, and it keeps getting better.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. And we talk about Hawaii, we talk about California, but I'm sure you have done surf trips all over the world. Was the one particularly fun for you, memorable?
Well, I had a recent trip to Desert Point down in Indonesia, and it was unbelievable. And it wasn't too crowded this time.
Okay.
So we got good waves. There was about 6 foot, but just fast and perfect.
Nice.
And then I don't know, last year in Hawaii. This year I was moving and do a bunch of stuff, so I didn't get a chance to get there. But gosh, I've had great waves everywhere. France.
I'm sure.
Insane back in '73 when there weren't a whole lot of people there at Osagor and different places in Biarritz. And Spain and Australia, but a lot in Bali, back in the late 70s, early 80s, and then boat trips.
It's a
But I love living in Hawaii on the North Shore in the winter because you can just walk out your front door and pick your spot.
Mm.
And I have a lot of respect there,
Of course. You have,
so I could paddle out. I get pretty much any wave I want
yeah.
out of respect.
It says a lot about surf culture, right? Like
Yeah.
respect counts, and it's still today. Uh, if they see you on the lineup, that's it. You have the right of first choice.
Well, the best surfers know me.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
sort of control the crowd,
Exactly.
even though I'm 75, right? I still go to Malibu and ride waves with all the guys up there.
Yeah, I know. Like they have to bow on you, right? Like they have to let the legend go by. And oh wow, I wanted to say, it's a pity that Europe in the surfing world has been like left a little bit behind. Yeah, it's like
I'm sorry.
it's a pity that Europe. You are talking about Osegor, for instance,
Uh-huh.
left behind in this surf. Like it's out of the surf of the WSL. No more Osegor tour. Stop of the tour. There is a huge amount of people, European surfers, that are gravitating between Osegor, Biarritz, Bida, what no, what. But it looks like today is still USA, Australia, those places rule, and Europe is kind of falling back a little bit. As a European, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm saying a so wrong thing, but
Well, there's a lot of it's happening here in California too.
really, okay.
In the US, it's changing. It's not like it was.
It wasn't, not the past.
Yeah, it's really gotten corporate, and then like the sponsorships really fallen off, and the culture has really changed. It's not the same.
But we'll try to do our best as the generations, new generation, to try to keep the surf culture and attention to surf team, the culture, the aloha culture, the tradition of surf, the respect you were talking before, to keep them alive, because it's so important. We cannot transform surf into just a sport, right?
I don't like it. Not just a sport. And I'm not into the Olympics and all that stuff. I'm, more of a, I'd like to go to Mandaka, right? Go surfing.
Okay.
And just surf, not have to think about a competition or any of that stuff.
Yeah, if it's to promote surf culture, is good. If it is to kind of merchandise surf culture, then it's not good. I think. The way I see it, everything that can add some golden coin inside the piggy bank is good, but whatever makes it more mainstream, that actually kills it.
Well, yeah, that's what they've done to it. The big companies, the big corporations have come in and claimed it.
We're going to finish our interview with a short Q&A session, so please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. It's going to be very quick. You already gave me so much time, so I don't want to steal more.
Yeah, you've done a lot. Okay, go.
Last, quick. The best surfboard that you ever rode?
Oh, it depends where it was at, but back door and off the wall. It was a stringerless board. It was a 8.2, I believe, and it was 1967.
Wow.
And that was the first change. Like,
Favorite shaper of all time?
oh, Phil Edwards.
Yeah, of course. Personal question. Your favorite song or kind of music? Kind of music, I think I know, but
Oh, Jimi Hendrix.
wow. Yes.
Yeah. Talk experience.
If it's not a secret, your favorite surf spot?
Oh, pipeline.
Yeah, I mean,
All back door, all that little stretch.
yeah, that was an easy one. At least maybe a useless one from my side. I should have known. Favorite surfer of all time?
Boy, that's a tough one.
Longboard.
David Newweevil was great in 1965, right around there. There's nobody better.
Rockstar. True rockstar as well. And the last question is a little bit unusual. Yeah, I ask everyone on the show. Please don't ask me why I thought about it, because it makes no sense with surfboard or surf, but I like to know your best relationship advice.
What kind of relationship?
You can choose. Can be a romantic relationship, a friend relationship, a relationship with the ocean.
My best relationship is with my wife, Debbie Fletcher.
Exactly. So what is the advice that you can give to people?
Well, we've been married 55 years, and when you get upset or on a trip, it's better to leave the room than to say something that you'll regret.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of other surfers. Christian's one of my favorite because my son, Christian Fletcher, Sean Thompson, Mark Richards, a lot of those guys from that era.
Yeah.
Each era had different surfers,
Of course.
And I'm still watching my son, Nathan Fletcher, and, he's big tube rider, big wave rider, everything, all around type guy.
He's not
Big air.
He's not disappointing you at all.
No.
Not at all.
No.
So thank you so much, Mr. Fletcher, for being with me on the show. I look forward to talk to you very, very soon. You've been very kind. Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you. Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!